Hi, my name is Kara-Leah from the Yoga Lunchbox, and today I'm here with Jennifer Allen. So Jennifer was a professional dancer and musical theatre performer. She began yoga in 1995 and then started her teaching career in New York City. She is a senior facilitator for Bliss Yoga Baby and also for Byron Yoga Centre, but now she's based in New Zealand and she's a lead facilitator for Jayayoga, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thanks, Kara-Leah. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me today. It's nice to be here.
My pleasure. Now I want to know, because you have I love how you called it your brand mantra, but tell me, what is Jayayoga about and what is this brand mantra that you speak of?
Oh, well, Jayayoga, the brand mantra is safe, sustainable yoga. And I can't stress enough those two big words, safe and sustainable, has become such an important part of my own practice over the years and now such an integral part of my teaching journey.
So what do you mean by, I mean, we can kind of guess what you mean by the word safe. What do you mean by sustainable yoga?
Well, sustainable is a word that's sort of gaining so much credibility in terms of sustainability for the ecosystem, for the environment. But looking inward, why not? Why aren't we looking inward at sustainability in terms of our bodies and our ability to have this experience of yoga, not only in a way that's functional and accessible for our daily life, so using yoga as a complement to the things that we already do in our life. So for myself, I'm a mother of two and a busy working mother, an entrepreneur. So my yoga practice has to be a complement to everything that I'm already doing in my day. So what does that mean for me from day to day in terms of my energy level, in terms of what I'm going to be giving back to the people around me? And then on a long-term sustainability, meaning that I can do my yoga practice until I'm 100 years old plus. So being able to do yoga in a way that is kind and nourishing and healing on my body, so that I can have this yoga practice in my life for as long as I'm here, as long as I'm on the earth.
I see. So when you're talking about sustainable, it's not necessarily that it's an eco-yoga way of looking at things, but it's more about sustaining the body and mind daily or over a long period.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and the only way to be able to sustain our practice in the long term is to wake up every morning with a different perspective on our practice and coming to our mat completely raw and organic in the moment, and asking ourselves what we need today rather than what we think we should be doing.
Now that's a very different way of approaching practice than, say, some of the more traditional teachers or the traditional ways like Ashtanga. So how did you arrive at this concept that you wanted to teach in a sustainable manner?
Well, I think some of it stemmed from my own personal experiences. About 13 years ago, in the height of my own dance career, I suffered a really debilitating spinal injury that left me at a crossroads with whether or not what I was doing with my body in the moment was going to serve me much longer in my life. So it really called on me to sit down and say, okay, this thing that I'm doing with my body, as passionate as I feel about it, and it's helping me to express and communicate to my body, is actually doing more harm than good. So as I started to transition more and more into my yoga practice and into my teaching, I then had to have a look at how my asana and how my shapes and movements with my body were going to contribute to healing rather than to contribute to further damage. And I've witnessed so many instances in practice and in teaching with my students of overuse in the body and injury and taking more than what we should in the moment, rather than just opening ourselves up to receiving whatever is there.
So when you started, like back in 95, what styles were you initially doing? Were you doing one, or were you kind of, tasting from them all?
I was absolutely, at that point I was living in the United States, I was living in New York. Vinyasa yoga was hot, so I was probably frequenting, particularly in the New York winters, lots of hot yoga, Bikram yoga, where it was nice and warm, and lots of power yoga, lots of vinyasa, very dynamic practices, and really exploring in those dynamic practices in a way that was probably quite abusive back then, the amount of flexibility that I was already coming to my yoga practice with. Lots of hypermobility to the extreme. And it wasn't until, and I can thank goodness that there were no sort of sustained injuries that I can say came from my yoga practice. But I look at that now, and I think that's so much what this has become about for me is allowing people to be a witness to their sensory experience in their body rather than coming to the mat going, another thing on the to-do list today, do yoga, do it hard. Go hard or go home. I only have one class this week, so I've got to make it a good one, rather than just arriving and tuning into what you need right there in the moment.
What do you think would have happened if you'd kept practicing yoga in that way then?
Oh, I hate to think.
Yeah. So was there a turning point? Was there a particular teacher that helped you wake up to a different way to practice?
There were a couple of turning points. One of the first major turning points for me was my experience of going over to Byron Bay and working at Byron Yoga Center, and working in a way that was more hatha-based and more focused on alignment and functionality of the body. I met a wonderful woman over there who's still one of my mentors, a woman called Maria Kirsten, and I did my diploma of yoga therapy with her, and that was a life-transforming experience to see the simplicity of body movement with breath and how simple movement could make really profound change happen. That it didn't need to be big to be amazing. and the other major turning point, I think, for me would have been having children.
Ah, right.
Seeing the big changes in the way my body functioned from day to day and my energy levels and what I truly needed from my practice was really humbling.
So let's talk a little bit about the teacher training that you've put together and that you're running next year. You've got a 200-hour training and also a 300. So the 300 follows on from the 200 to make a 500?
At the moment, that's how Yoga Alliance has started to see the accreditation of a 500-hour course is now that 200-hour course that's come from another accredited organization, whether it's Jayayoga or another. If someone wants to come in for that 300 hours, providing they've done a 200-hour accredited course, plus 100 hours of logged teaching, so being out in the community in any teaching environment, and then coming to do their 300 hours. All of that together will accredit them at their 500-hour certification.
Now, a lot of courses we're seeing now are done as short-form immersions. Like you dive in there and you spend, 4 weeks, for example, doing your thing, and then you're out the other side. And there is often follow-up and exercises, etc. But it's very short. You're doing something different, though.
Yeah, we do a part-time course, so we meet 1 weekend a month. So the 200 hours, 7 months part-time. The 300 hours is a 10-month part-time course, and that gives the trainees an opportunity to step away from the work that we've done. So we come together and we work for 3 days, and we bring all of the information of that specific module together. So each module of the course is specially themed for whatever course of instruction we're taking in that moment. So it might be the technique of asana or practice of teaching or anatomy and physiology. We come together in a group, we deliver and bring in all of that content in that weekend. And then the trainee goes away for a month with a packet of information in terms of homework, and they have a journaling process to try to create a bit of a ritual around their own practice and their study. And then we come back together again, and it gives the trainee and the student time to integrate all of that work. With an immersion, I definitely think something is lost in the learning process, because it's like running a short-term marathon. You're sort of walking away going, what did I just do? Whereas we have time to integrate, to ask questions, and we've become, this group that I'm working with now, we've really become quite a cohesive community of yogis. And there's a lot of circulation of inquiry and learning on all aspects of the practice together. And by the end of the 7 months, I feel like they're well and truly ready to at least dive in to some small scale general classwork.
So you're really passionate about yoga and about teaching. Like, I can feel it when you talk about teaching, and you've been teaching for a while. What does it mean to you to teach teachers?
Everything. Every time I sit in front of a group of teachers, I say to them, and I mean it from the depth of my own heart, that this is my dharma. Something brought me to yoga. The expression of body movement, of breath, the experience of using that as meditation has impacted my life in such a way that I just want to shout it out to the rafters. And training teachers and watching teachers step onto their teaching mat and teach with integrity and with safety and with kindness has just been mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing, and so gratifying in so many ways.
So what do you think makes a good teacher then? Like, when someone's going through your programs, etc., and they come out the other end, what gives you great satisfaction in terms of the qualities that they're displaying by the end?
Well, there are a few things that I sort of say structurally in the course that are core values for a yoga teacher. Knowledge, for sure. Never stop educating yourself, whether it's workshops or trainings or just finding a new teacher or hopping on Yoga Glow, whatever it is that you're doing to continue to be inquisitive as a yoga teacher to what is new, why are we doing this pose a different way now, and as we're learning more about ourselves. So knowledge, crucially important. Empathy, compassion. Sometimes I even say I think some of the best yoga teachers are bred out of limitation, injury, experience. Having had a baby, having had an injury, having had something in your life that has limited you from having what you perceive to be a perfect practice. Definitely humility. Just and being able to see your students for who they are and accept them for what they're giving in the moment. So, having a relationship with your students in a way that you understand them and you can feel what they need on any given day. So being able to tear up the session plan that you've written, go entirely with what your students are needing in that moment. Intuition.
Yeah, that's a big one for teachers, isn't it? And I think to an extent it comes in time, doesn't it? It always comes with time.
I think so. Being able to look at your students and say, okay, everybody's tired today.
Yeah.
This plan of inversions and arm balances is not going to fly. Rip it up, throw it in the rubbish.
Yeah.
Let's come up with something else. Absolutely.
I think that possibly is the crux of a real teacher, in terms of you're not delivering a fixed idea of what you think is important according to you, but responding to the need in the moment. So when you talk about a sustainable practice, is that really what it means to be sustainable? Because to respond to the needs of the moment.
They respond to the needs of the moment, absolutely. And you don't have to indoctrinate yourself into one style of yoga. And we don't. With Jayayoga, I teach a hatha-based practice that allows us to flow, that allows us to practice yin, that allows us to have restorative yoga, or simply just a therapeutic practice on the floor, rolling around, doing cat's cows. So yes, absolutely. It comes full circle back to what it is to truly be, I think, a good yoga teacher, and that's being able to not only know that in your own practice, but to be able to intuitively give that to your students.
Fantastic. Jennifer, I think that's an amazing place to stop. I love what you shared with us, and I love your passion. Is there anything that you would like to add to end, or?
No, this has just been such an amazing journey, and I've had 20 wonderful, wonderful women on my course this year who are just about to graduate, and I'm so looking forward to seeing this community expand as these teachers take this work out into their own communities and into their own teaching. And I really look forward to the next group that's coming next year, so I hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kara-Leah.